Flaquette of Soltar Solutions, and I am here today with another segment of Focus Forward. I am so excited to be able to introduce our guest today. Her name is Liza Wisner, and she was on ABC's The Apprentice. So we're here today, and we are going to talk about Power Up, which is her nonprofit organization that she has created to help empower the community and to be able to give her special gifts, share her special gifts with the community. So please help me welcome today Liza Wisner. So Liza, tell me, how are you today?
Hi, Lori. Nice to have you.
Thank you. So tell us about Power Up.
Well, Power Up, it stands for Providing Opportunities Where Everyone Rises Up. And the reason I started Power Up was because after getting on The Apprentice and enjoying that experience tremendously, I figured that, I have this huge platform and I've had this idea of this organization for 2 years. And I thought this was a great time to launch it. And the reason I launched it was because in my business that I have, Texas Techies Organization, where we provide technology integration in the classroom, technology education integration for the classroom, I found that there was a need for the kids who, either couldn't afford the services or the schools that couldn't afford to have me and my team come in and really enhance their education that they were providing the children. And so what Power Up does is it finds opportunities where we can engage with disadvantaged communities and bridge that digital divide. We bridge that gap between the haves and the have-nots, and so that way the entire community is successful.
That's amazing. So bridging the digital divide, I love that. That's just incredible. So how do you engage the community to actually be part of this?
And Lori, I'm telling you, I didn't come up with the nonprofit organization because I thought, what am I going to do next in my life? No, it really kind of happened as a chance opportunity for me. Through the things that I was able to do, I found that, the more that I engaged with my community and the more that I was being supportive of the people that didn't have, the more support I was getting from my community. And so it really kind of speaks volumes into the fact that, if you do just a little bit, and if you just help that one person, you don't know how far that's going to go. And that has spoken volumes for me. And so as a business owner and as an innovative business advisor, I always encourage my businesses that I support that they always have to have a community engagement piece in the work that they're doing. How are they bringing value to the community that they're serving?
Okay, so here we are. We're an entrepreneur. We're busy. We're running here. We're running there. We're making sure that our business is running. We are in the weeds. How do we then take that time and that energy necessary to go back into the community to do important, valuable work? How do we do that? How do you do that?
Okay, so Lori, I think the most important thing here is my job, I feel, is almost like a full circle from cradle to grave, because ultimately you're not going to be able to be engaged in your community if you're not actually spending time, understanding how your business runs so that you're not working so much in your business. If you're working outside of your business, you'll be able to see the bigger impact of your business in the community. There's no business out there that's, attending to itself. Nobody's in a silo just operating. Everybody needs customers and everybody needs a location, or whether it's the internet, whatever it is, you're going to have a segment. You have a group of people that you're trying to touch. They live in your community. They are engaged with the world that they live in, and you are too. And if you're not in touch with that, if you're not being engaged with your community, then you're losing a huge part of where you could be getting customers from. You're losing impact. And so I like to tell business owners that if you're not finding time to be engaged in your community, how are people going to know about you? If you're not finding time to, support that Little League program, how are those parents going to find out that your business exists?
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is it makes good business sense to have that community engagement and to be involved. But how do you find the time? It's the time.
Well,
I think that's the most difficult thing for an entrepreneur, more than money, is time. And what you're saying is it's not necessarily about giving showering the community with money. It's talking
Right.
about your personal engagement.
Right. In fact, one of the things I like to tell people that giving back, I mean, the word giving back to me, it just kind of feels like, you took something and so now you're giving it back, but, it doesn't mean that you are giving money. I think money is sometimes, you see it as, there's a donate button and you donate it and you just kind of forget about it. And that's not really the point here. The point is to build role models in the community, to really build a strong foundation where our next generation and our children can see that there is a great world out there with positive, of opportunities and people who are trying to make a good impact in the community. Now, when we talk about having the time, that's when I think about, how are you really running your business? Because if you don't have time to think about, how, for example, if you have a restaurant, do you go and volunteer your time at the local soup kitchen? That's something that's in line with your business. Do your employees spend some time doing things like that? And so how have you aligned your business with your community? You may not have time to do it, but it may be just a matter of having a small conversation with a business coach like myself to try to figure out how you can realign the activities that you're working on to, give you the time to spend in the community. And you have no idea how those contacts, those community engagement moments can play a part in your business. You may not see it immediately, but I kid you not, a year or two from the moment you start being more, of a regular face in the community, you will see a difference in your business growth.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I don't know if you're familiar with George H. Ross. Do you know who that is?
No.
The attorney, he's one of the attorneys for Donald Trump, and I know you're on The Apprentice, so maybe I thought you would know.
George Ross, yes.
George Ross, yeah. So he wrote the book, The Negotiation, which is an excellent book. I love it.
Yes.
And I saw him in an interview, and the interviewer asked him, what is your biggest regret? And he said, my biggest regret is that I didn't spend more time on community effort and in charity work. He said, I would write the check. I was really good at writing the check. He said, but I really could have done so much more, which I found really interesting because there's somebody who's writing the check, he's giving that way, not a problem.
Right.
But his regret is that he didn't spend more time in community engagement. Interesting,
Right.
isn't it?
It really is, and I feel fortunate that I was able to see that firsthand. I mean, my father, who lived, a wonderful life. Fortunately, he passed away in '96, but he lived a life of giving back in regards to giving himself. He didn't see it as, I just wrote a check and I'm done with it. I remember as a little girl, I remember we would be, driving for hours to go to this community and, he would be giving presentations or helping the kids with their soccer game. And we would drive for a long time, to support these, disadvantaged communities. And, until today, when I go back to my home country in Kenya, I still meet people and they tell me, they remember my dad, they remember the support that he gave to them. I get emails from people who he touched their lives. And for me, that's the true success. That's when you have really won, when your life, the life that you're leading, is making a bigger impact than you can touch. You're multiplying your efforts. Every smile, every, hand you hold, every child that you support in the Boys and Girls Club, you don't know what impact that's going to make in your community. You don't know if that's going to be, our next president. You have no idea what that's going to do for the life of the nation or the world.
So that's really interesting. A very interesting point that you just made. The question is, we're always talking about legacy. Anymore, I think for the last 7 or 8 years, people have been talking legacy. What's the legacy I'm going to leave and this and that? And you're talking about going back to Kenya and having people tell you, long after your father's passed away, that they still remember him. So basically, that's the legacy. So when people are talking about the legacy might not be the money, it's the giving of themselves.
Right. Right. They remember his face. They remember that he was there. He listened. he had an open door policy. If he was in the office, anybody could come and have a meeting with him. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy hearing those stories and knowing that, that's how he led his life. And I got to see it firsthand. So I'm fortunate that I've been able to start doing that. And I really have an open door policy with myself too. I share my email address with everyone, and my phone number as well. You can call me anytime. And, the funny thing is, a lot of people think that, oh, I can't give everyone my phone number. I can't give them my email address. There's less people out there who will actually follow through when they say they're going to call you or email you. Everybody's busy doing their work. And so ultimately, you don't realize that you could make a bigger impact by just being open and having the community, see you as a person who is willing to share maybe a little bit of your success with everyone.
Well, this is very interesting that we're talking about this, because I initially started this show so I could help entrepreneurs to get a leg up. As a business consultant, I work with lots of different entrepreneurs over a long period of time, or sometimes a short period. But I find that there's very consistent issues, consistent challenges. So I figured what I would do is have the show and invite people, experts like yourself, onto the show to be able to give us an opportunity to learn from them, to get kind of some of their best knowledge, I think, is offered on the show. And this way people can tune in, doesn't cost them anything, and they get to see exactly what they might need for their business to take their business to the next level. The flip side of that is it's been really interesting to see how many people I've been able to personally get to know because of this, and the impact it's had in my business has been huge. So there it is.
Right.
It's the give back component that is coming back to us. Manyfold.
Exactly. It really is. It's just a multiplier. It's the multiplier effect.
So now the Power Up, is that in your local community, or has that grown out to other places besides San Antonio?
The Power Up community is most active in Kenya, in my home country. I felt like that's where the most need was. And so we launched our Power Up. We actually took a trip and we went there and we launched the program. And through the support of my community, of business owners in the community, I was able to, provide laptops to the children. And Power Up also provides engagement in golf. We really believe that, we want to distill that myth that golf is a rich man's game. I really truly believe that, I was able to play golf at a young age, and I ended up playing for the Kenya women's golf team, and that's how I came to America on a scholarship. And just a few things I was able to learn by being a golfer, I really feel like I have, been successful because golf teaches you so many lessons. And I feel like if we can build that foundation as, a sport that teaches you to be really dig deep and believe in yourself and, forget the past, forget that bad hole you had, and you got to make that putt. You got to focus on what's ahead of you. And I believe those are the lessons that I want to teach, my children and help other children who may not have the opportunity to play the game of golf also play.
That's amazing. So what you do is you collect electronic goods and probably golf equipment as well, and then transport that to Kenya?
Not necessarily. What we've been able to do, Kenya is a robust country, and we're in East Africa, so there's a lot of, other nations around us, and so we're able to find the resources there. So I've partnered with HP in Kenya, and so they've donated laptops to us. We've worked with internet providing companies like Access Kenya, and they've provided internet to the programs that we've been able to build in Kenya. I work with an organization called Craft Silicon, and they actually have a mobile bus that travels to the community, and it provides technology classes to children and also adults. It actually provides even certifications to high school students who may have graduated and haven't been able to get a job or go to college. So I feel like, a lot of times, a lot of people may think that to start doing community engagement, you have to start from, the beginning, and you kind of have to do it yourself. There's already things going on in your community. And part of the action, I always tell people, I'm like, think of it, like right now, what can you do this moment to be engaged? Whether it's partnering up with someone, whether it's just, stepping out of your comfort zone and contributing that 1 hour, you just never know, what relationships you have with your vendors, with your customers, that you can pull all those resources together to build something bigger. And I'm just fortunate that I was able to make that happen for me when we have Power Up in existence right now. I've been able to leverage so many different partnerships to make one big impact in my community.
That's awesome. So how did you get the idea? First of all, how did you get the idea to do this? And then were you so brave to be able to do this in a country that's so far away?
I really truly believe that the world is smaller than you think. A lot of people may think, oh, it's Kenya, it's like way away. It's actually not as far as you think. The world is accessible, I'll tell you that. Communication has really changed, and so I mean, I have Skype calls with my family back home, including the support system that we have for running the organization, and so it's not the kind of world where you imagine that I have to travel to Kenya like every month or anything. No, that's not the kind of world that it is now. So it's I think part of it is having a good understanding of who are the movers and shakers in the community and making sure that they understand your mission and your vision and your purpose, because they'll be looking out for you. When they get into a situation where there's an opportunity for you, they'll think of you and you'll get an email or you'll get that phone call. And then that's when you make things happen. So I've just kind of, been going with the flow. And I think once you let go, I like to tell people you got to let go and let God, because ultimately you're not in control. You're not the driver in this. And if you think you can control everything, you're running around, and that's where the problem comes. If you just let go and let everything just come to you organically, if you know you're doing the right things will happen for you.
So how do you go about how do you actually go about setting that up? It sounds like you're a major deal maker. I mean, that's first of all. So that sounds like that's one of the major components, is being able to call these companies up and talk to them and present that. But how do you go about putting all that together?
You'd be surprised, Lori. Getting on The Apprentice and having that as my platform can open doors that you never imagined. I mean, sending a simple letter and explaining what you want to do is really what needs to happen. I mean, and I know there's a lot of people out there who write a lot of letters and, they get a lot of no's. But if I send you all the letters I've ever written and all the no's I've ever gotten, you would be surprised, and you would probably see the yeses as just little, glimmers, surrounded by all these no's. But for me, that's really, the success is you have to celebrate your failures. I think you talk a little bit about that, and you talk about, embracing the fact that, fail fast, you just got to do it, you just got to send as many letters as you can. You got to call as many people as you can. And when you get that one yes, when you get that one, positive thing, that's really what takes you to the next level. And that's what you need to focus on, not the things that are getting in your way. You need to focus on the things that you want to happen for you.
So what was the tipping point? What was the tipping point when you knew it was going to happen? Like you were working, you're getting some of those rejections, you keep plugging along. What was the tipping point?
The tipping point was The Apprentice, because I mean, The Apprentice wasn't the first thing that I'd ever tried to do. So it's ultimately for me, it just showed me that I had been underestimating myself, because there was a point where I actually felt like, I could keep going with my regular life, my daily life of just, going to work, coming home and, taking care of my family, and then the same thing again, and hopefully one day I'll retire. But I had bigger dreams and I had bigger goals for myself, and I knew that I could make them happen. I just didn't know how. Once I got on The Apprentice, I realized that, if a person like Donald Trump can see me and see that there's some value in what the work that I'm doing and in what I can bring to the world, I guess, as far as the skills that I've been able to acquire or learn, that gave me that boost of confidence where I felt like I can take it to the next level. But you know what, Lori, I have to say, we all have that inside us. We all have that inside us. It's just a matter of putting those successes on a pedestal and seeing them as, look, I did that. Now, how can I take this to the next level? How can I capitalize on that? How can I ride that wave? And that's how you really win on, stacking. You have to stack them. You have to make sure that you're moving yourself in the right direction and it's not just dissolving into nothing.
So it sounds to me almost like you were looking at yourself through maybe Donald Trump's eyes and saw more of your value and saw more of the things than you yourself were actually aware of. Or did you say, okay, I'm going to step up to the plate and play full out? You know,
I did.
okay.
And the reason I tell people The Apprentice was my business boot camp was because there was really a tipping point for me on the actual show. Between the first episode and the second episode, I feel like, I completely changed my way of thinking in regards to The Apprentice. I realized that, if you don't put yourself out there and if you don't do your best, you might end up leaving behind a legacy of, would have and should haves and could haves versus just stepping out and being brave and just doing it. And that was really for me a great experience. And it's like they say, you have to fail fast. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I got to a point, if you had a chance to watch the show, I got to a point where by the second episode, I thought I was going to get fired because everybody thought I was pretty weak or, maybe I wasn't, doing, I wasn't easy to get along with, but I was just working hard is what I was doing. But I think ultimately that's what ended up being the success for me because I've taken that and I've built on it. And that's why I'm still standing strong.
So what was the success? What was that point of success in you? What was it?
In me, it was a trigger. It's almost like a light bulb went off that, it's really how you see yourself. A lot of times you may think, a lot of people see you and, you have your business, whether it's a small business and, may not have a big footprint in your community, but how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a big entrepreneur and, having 100 employees, employing, 1,000 people in your community, opening a factory and, just imagine every employee you hire, if you provide a great environment for them, which means really good benefits, that's a community. That's a family. Those are children you're putting through school. I mean, and then with your business, you're paying taxes. You're making the community be successful. You're supporting your community. So if you see your business as growing and becoming this amazing, I think, people want to be movers and shakers, and they kind of want to have their business, bringing in a lot of money. And ultimately, when you think about it, when businesses succeed, communities prosper. And time again, that's what you see. Entrepreneurship is really the success of this era.
So I'm feeling incredibly empowered listening to you. This is amazing. So now give us very quickly 3 tips that any entrepreneur can do right now to be involved with the community in a way that works for them.
Okay, so the first thing I would do is think about your industry. What are you doing right now? So whatever your industry is, I want you to just, find an organization that's in line with your industry. So you're not having to learn something different, right? So, I mean, if you're a restaurant, then, find a soup kitchen where, you may be able to support them somehow. Your employees may be able to donate their time there. And then that kind of works synergistically with your organization. Another thing that you can do is share your gifts. A lot of times I feel like there's a lot of, nickeling and diming of, your business. And a lot of times that's where you lose the value. If you just have a business where, the people who are going to buy are going to buy, and I like to tell business owners that people don't buy because of, you were standing up there with your billboard. People buy because of relationships and they buy because they really feel connected with the brand or with the person. And so, you kind of have to think about, okay, who is my customer and how am I going to engage with that customer? And whatever, it needs to be, whatever you need to be so that you can engage with those people, that's where you need to be. And then third, I would just say, you need to know who you are. What do you want? If somebody came up to you and told you, I'm going to give you, $50 million, or $500 million, you don't have to work another day in your life. What would you be doing right now? Like, really, what would you be doing? And that's really what you need to focus on. Because ultimately, if you feel like you're not going to be engaged in your community, because, I mean, to be honest with you, I know that there's a lot of greedy people out there who ultimately, they've only seen the value in their life as what can they have for themselves without thinking about how can they touch their community and make an impact. And so you need to know, are you that kind of a person? So you make a choice, am I going to be here or am I going to be here? And if you feel like, you're being true to yourself and you do want to be involved in your community, then in what way? How do you want to be engaged? And I think those are the steps, understanding yourself.
You make a really good point because I could tell you that no matter how much money someone gave me, they could not buy me away from my work, because I believe
Right.
so much in my work. And I think you're the same way. It's really about the work that we do that drives us, that gets us out of bed, that keeps us moving. For me, it's not really about the money. It's about the work and the fun and the excitement of work and that feeling of being able to actually help and take a business or a person to the next level. Maybe make them see things that they wouldn't normally see by, letting them look behind the curtain and seeing how they can make that change. So exactly
Right.
what you're saying is so true. So I have to say, bad news, we're out of time. You've been an
Oh,
awesome guest. I have loved talking to you. You bring a wealth of knowledge. So I really want to thank you. Liza Wisner, you've done a phenomenal job today. Thank you.
thanks, Lori. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again.
I hope so. I hope so. We'll talk very soon. And I want to keep in touch to find out what are those next things that you're doing, because I know you're gonna keep moving and keep changing
Okay.
and keep growing. So there we are with another episode of Focus Forward. Was that phenomenal or what? Thank you so much for tuning in, and check us out again.